All right. Hello, patrons, and welcome to this bonus episode for our first episode of Leviticus.
Yeah, wow. We're
Yeah.
here.
We're here.
And it was a task. It was just like an excitement to get through the first four chapters of Leviticus.
Yeah,
And we got there.
I was thinking about like if you were on your own reading it, like you were doing this Bible reading plan as it's meant to be done.
I feel like you'd skim it. You'd skim the whole
or
thing.
you'd fall asleep if you were reading it at night.
Sure.
You'd just be like, wait, did I read this already? I don't know.
Did I read this already?
Yeah.
I feel like I've been reading in circles.
Yeah, exactly. So I
Yeah.
just feel like this is probably where you'd start to drop off a little bit, or maybe you'd skip ahead
Yeah.
some readings or not really go through this.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
I
So
mean-
I appreciate that I have this nice Bible study group with the two of you.
There you go.
Where like I'm actually gonna
You have to read it because we're reading it out loud to the world.
to the world and
Yeah.
have to like pay attention to try to make sense of it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Because there were like slight nuances to most of them. Some of them were just like verbatim the same thing over and over again, but then there were slight nuances to others.
Yeah. So in this we covered the burnt offering,
Yeah.
the grain offering,
Yes.
the peace offering, and the sin offering,
Okay.
which is a little bit unclear what they're for, except for the sin offering, which was kind of more clearly like if you do something that God said not to do, here's what you have to do depending who's the one who did the thing, right?
Yeah.
But like the other ones, like the burnt offering and the grain offering and the peace offering, it's a little less clear like when those would be done.
Yeah, no,
You know
for
what I
sure.
mean?
I don't know, like, with whom. I mean, maybe, like, if you're trying to look for peacefulness between you and another tribe, perhaps, like, you offer up
Oh,
This-
okay.
sacrificial lamb or whatever, so to speak.
Right.
Was it a lamb for peace?
I don't remember.
Yeah, me neither.
Or if it was, maybe it was another one where you had the option. I think you had the option.
Okay.
Could either be like a goat,
Goat
or a lamb. I think.
Because they always say, like, the sacrificial lamb, which is interesting. But it's really
Right.
like the sacrificial bull or the sacrificial whatever.
That's true. Yeah, that lambs are actually only part of the time.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never really thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to find some kind of chart here that's going to help break down like what
What you
the
had to
actual
do?
offerings
Oh,
were
yeah.
for. No, not what you had to do. It's whatever. Follow the instructions. We spelled them out pretty clearly.
Well, no, not that specifically, but I still am wondering, and I'm not sure if it's out there, but like what a person had to do to sin to get this offering to happen to them. That is my
Wait, what do you
question.
mean? Like why they would have to do one?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm having a hard time finding anything that really spells that out, which leads me to believe maybe people don't know.
Huh. Interesting.
like
yeah, that's a
that.
really good point.
Yeah, that it was maybe
Yeah, they might not know.
yeah, that like maybe the burnt offerings were just something you did. Like I'm reading like people saying like the burnt offering satisfied God's wrath against sin and made fellowship possible, and I'm like,
Huh.
yeah, but like then what's the sin offering for?
Yeah.
You know, or like the grain offering. It's like, okay, it's like giving thanks, I guess.
Yeah.
And the peace offering was what? Was this okay? This article here says, unlike the other offerings, the peace offering was optional,
Huh.
given in addition to the burnt offering. Oh, so maybe it goes along with it.
Maybe they can just say like we're also doing a peace offering right now.
Yeah,
It's like along with everything else.
yeah, it's like giving like a tip to God. You're like,
Yeah.
things have gone really well, so I'm gonna give you a little tip. I'm gonna add some unleavened bread
Oh, I
to
see. Yeah,
this,
yeah.
this bird, this
This
partridge in a
bird-
pear tree.
Oh
that
gosh. Wait, okay, so you have an article up of these offerings or something?
I'm
or?
jumping around between different articles
Okay,
and stuff,
okay.
and none of them are particularly helpful. But yeah, wow, this person. So this is saying apparently there are different types of peace offerings, which we're
Huh.
going to learn about, I think, next week.
Okay.
So maybe we'll hold off on talking too much about peace offerings, and we'll see.
Oh, I see. We're going to learn more.
Yeah, they'll be
Wow.
in chapter 7,
Okay.
which I think we should get to next week.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay. Well, in addition to those offerings, on something completely off topic, which
but totally related.
but totally related just in terms of what we are doing in general. We came across a fun article on BibleStudyTools.com called Audio Bible Listening. Is it cheating? And this is interesting.
Is it cheating?
Yeah, is it cheating? Like, are you cheating the Bible by listening to it rather than like sitting down and reading it? And that's really interesting because it's essentially like telling someone that, you have to literally look at it and read it
Like
for it
somehow
to
your
matter.
eyes have to be involved.
But like, what does that mean? Like, what if somebody can't read?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, what if listening to it, they're still getting it? They're still getting value out of it. And I will say, our podcast, a person that I met over in China who is very religious, said that our podcast like helped get her motivated to read the Bible again.
I have heard that from some people. Yeah.
Yeah, which is really exciting.
Or a lot of people to read the Bible for the first time.
Yeah, exactly.
But by listening to the podcast.
Yeah.
So, but tell me though, what's the conclusion of this article? Is it saying, is it cheating or not?
So it kind of like goes into it a little bit because definitely people like talk about how like you have to painstakingly read the Bible over and over again to remember things like verses verbatim, which I know, at least in
Dedeker's talked
movies.
about like sword drills.
Yeah,
of,
I
like,
know.
Where you have to be able to like recite specific verses and things like that.
Yeah, in movies and stuff that everyone's like John 3:16 or like Leviticus 5:12 or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, and but it is arguing that definitely some people will learn better by listening rather than reading, which I definitely feel like I'm one of those people. I mean, I do love reading, but I think that I have a very auditory memory. And so by being able to hear something rather than just like looking at it on a page, I feel like I internalize it and remember it much better. And the article is saying that that is the case. And also like just sitting down and like reading it, not a lot of people are doing that anymore with the Bible.
Right. Yeah.
So,
well, I remember hearing about some studies a while ago about audiobooks just kind of more generally. And, there's supposed to be a lot of benefits to reading.
Yeah.
And I've heard from some of these studies that those benefits are still there listening to audiobooks.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
I wonder why that is.
Well, at least one of the explanations I heard is that, at least with just reading books in general, is that part of the benefit is, well, is a number of things. It's that you're imagining the situations, that you're visualizing them, and also that you're keeping track of relationships between a lot of different people and places.
Interesting.
And that sort of exercise of kind of empathizing and also kind of keeping tabs on the relationships between all these different people have a lot of very positive benefits for us socially and mentally and things like that.
That's good.
And that whether you're listening to it or reading it, that's the same.
Yeah.
Like that the stuff you actually benefit from is what you're thinking about, not the fact that your eyes happen to be reading it or your ears are hearing it.
Interesting.
So I did think that was interesting, but it makes sense that it would apply to something like the Bible too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, again, if people are arguing like that they need to get back into the Bible or are interested in being able to like on the go listen to it, I mean, our podcast or something such as, I don't know, an audiobook version of the Bible is a perfect way to do that. Because like you can't be reading while you're in the car, for instance, but you definitely could be listening to it. So
yeah, I could see people arguing that that's the problem with it, is that it allows you to multitask, so you're not as focused on it. Because it is true. I will say it's rare, like, because I listen to a decent amount of audiobooks, but it's very rare that I would just do that.
yeah,
Right? It'll be, while I'm in the car on the way to work,
Sure.
or while I'm at work doing something. So
yeah.
I could see someone making that argument,
But I mean,
but maybe that's where our podcast comes in,
yeah,
because we're not just reading it where you can kind of gloss over and forget, but we're also
imbuing it with fun
and
laughter.
insight and
Yes,
laughter.
exactly.
And trying to make sense of it.
Yeah,
I know that for me, if I were reading this on my own,
I know. I'd be like, what? Okay, whatever.
exactly,
And then, yeah.
exactly.
But we like are hopefully for all of you out there, like taking the time to ask those questions and be like, what does this mean? And then look up another translation, or like ask each other, like, what do you think this means? Or what do you think that means?
So like, hey, let's look up this thing real
exactly.
quick. Yeah.
So basically we're doing the work for you. So you get the benefit of being able to ask that question and then getting the answer without like needing to do the work yourself.
Yeah.
All the work you have to do is just listen to the podcast.
Yeah. Wow.
That's fun.
Look how easy we've made it for you.
Yeah, exactly.
I like how we turned this bonus episode into like a commercial
basically
for
a
us.
commercial for the podcast. Sorry, we didn't necessarily mean to do that, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm really interested out there to hear in the Patreon group, like on the Patreon web page, how you all listen to the Bible, like if you listen to it, if you've read it before, what the podcast gives you in terms of like being able to ask these questions or get them answered, and just like how you prefer to learn things, if you prefer to listen to them or read them or any of the above.
Yeah, that'd be a fun discussion, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Look forward to hearing what people say.
Yeah, me too. And we'll catch you next time with the next few chapters of Leviticus.
More offerings, probably.
Oh boy.
This is important stuff, though.
Yeah.
And we're going to help you through it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Bring your drinks. See you next week.
Absolutely. You'll need them.